All right, what's up, guys? Welcome back to another episode of the Living the Dream podcast. Today on the show, we have Erica Wiederlight, who is a sexual empowerment and dating coach. Erica, how you doing?
I'm so good. I'm very excited to start my morning with you and to talk about all the things.
Yeah, awesome. No, we're excited to have you on, and we like to jump right in. So if you could start with telling us a little bit about yourself and some of the things you like to do for fun, that'd be awesome.
Perfect. I love it. So a little bit about myself, as we kind of touched on, is I'm a sexual empowerment and dating coach. And sometimes people are like, what does that mean? And what it means is it's helping all the different types of people, all different types of humans to feel confident, embodied, to move past any of their traumas. We all have trauma in different forms, to really feel confident, to feel good, and to feel like, it sounds corny, but to like live their hashtag best life. So that's my intention, to help them hold them through that, guide them through that, and to help them bridge that gap. A little bit about me. I love like this stuff. Like, it's so funny. It's my work, but I actually love personal development, which is, it's I'm passionate about it. So even though it's my work, I also love to advance myself through podcasts and books and all of the things. So that's the cliff notes about my work and about me.
Gotcha. I love that. And do you have any strange hobbies that you want to share with us, or?
Ooh, it's probably not crazily strange. I guess this doesn't really shock people, but this is a sidebar. I'm also, in addition to a business owner, an actress. So that it's funny, before we recorded this, I actually was literally 2 feet away recording a voiceover audition. So we keep all the things in the air. You know what I mean? We juggle all of the things at once.
Yeah, wait, that is so cool. Tell us about being an actress real quick.
Yeah, I mean, it's obviously an interesting journey. Right now, with where we are in the world, things are slowly opening, but I do primarily a lot of voiceover work because it's easy. You could do it from home. Um, and I'm both SAG-AFTRA and Actors Equity. So I do stage, film, TV, voiceovers. So kind of I bounce. I know a lot of my friends more do like Broadway or musical theater. That's not really my jam, but I bounce in between. Like, okay, if I got a part in this, I'll do. So as you can imagine, I like to free flow with whatever feels good and whatever's up at the moment.
Yeah, absolutely. I love it. That's so cool.
Thank you.
Tell me a little bit more about your motivation for being a sexual empowerment and dating coach and also an actress.
Yeah. So the motivation but it's funny because I think the motivation is now a little bit stronger for the coaching, because I see people change, and that is so rewarding. I mean, I'm thinking about, even to yesterday, I was with a coaching client, and their growth and how much they've changed is like, you cannot put a price tag on it. You know what I mean? It's so rewarding. It's so, like, I'm like, how could I? It's just so, it's so rewarding. It's so gives back and is nourishing. And it's funny because I recently, in the last month, I've launched a podcast. And even seeing that, like, obviously my coaching goes much deeper. It's one-on-one, and it's rich and all of that stuff. But even the podcast, people are like, oh my God, I never thought about this. And that gives me so much peace too, because it's an entryway for people to have these experiences. So I think the biggest motivation is helping people. Also, I think you probably agree with this. It's so much fun being an entrepreneur. I mean, sometimes it drives you absolutely insane. Like, how will I make my next paycheck? It's sometimes there's, ebbs and flows with it. But today it's like, how cool, I got to wake up and do a voiceover audition, and now I'm talking to you. It's like, there's so many, it's exciting. It's exciting.
Yeah, absolutely. No, I completely agree. And that feeling that you get from really helping people become their best self, you know, it's just a fulfillment that you don't get. Like, I enjoy a lot of things, but when you can actually see somebody change because of just witnessing it, honestly, but if you had any help at all, it's just awesome.
It is. It's so true. It's so true. It's so awesome.
Yeah, so I love that. Awesome. Well, tell us about your dreams and goals, just vision for your life in general, as well as your sexual empowerment and dating coach business.
Yeah, it's funny because I always, for so many years, I guess since I was like 8 years old, I had this like very, not closed minded, but like closed idea of what I wanted. And it was like the very traditional acting path, that or so many actors want, like, I want to win an Emmy and an Oscar, like I wanted that trajectory. And now it's interesting to not like, listen, if someone gave it to me, I'd be like, yes, but you know, like that's not really the path. Like, I'm like, sure, but that's not really the path now. I think more of the dreams and goals are around this business. So yes, of course, like having consistent clients, that feels nourishing, but also um I would love more of the speaking route. I'm doing that now, but I would love a huge, like a really big platform for speaking, potentially a book. If we're going crazy, big dreams, I would like, my dream is to have like a show like Ellen, but make it like my version, make it like guests, like, you know, more, I don't want more spiritual, if you will, but more self-helpy, you know, like I would want that to like bringing the self-help world and normalizing it and having it like every day on air, you know. So I would want like one of that's like the ultimate vision. Like I would love to be a spiritual personality, if you will, or self-help personality.
I love that. I love that. And so when you are thinking about this show, how would the typical episodes go? If you've thought about that.
I haven't thought about it too, but I wouldn't want it to be like too heavy, like dense of like I would want it to, you know, cover material and people to walk away with tools and tricks and tips and all of that. But I do like how Ellen like dances in, you know, like I think we'd have to break it up and definitely make it fun, but I would want it to be a fun format that people are excited about. You know, they're like, okay, now we dance and now we do that, you know, like we have these amazing guests. So I would want it to feel like very information based, but also like fun and like high entertainment value.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. I love that. I feel like that's kind of merging your being an actress with.
It is. It is. And that's my podcast too. It's funny because people are like, oh, it's like it's information, but it's also like highly entertaining. I'm like, thank you. So we got to mix both of those.
Yeah, yeah, I love that. I love that. Well, what really caused you to take the first step towards being a sexual empowerment and dating coach?
Yeah. So you know, years ago, I don't even know that, maybe 2013, 2014, and then I officially made it official in 2015. I just had like one of those like come to Jesus, fall to your knees type year, you know, like a family member being diagnosed with cancer, friends passing away, dealing with, you know, dealing with personal stuff. That all catapulted me getting interested in just like self-help. And with the cancer diagnosis from my mom, she was diagnosed with cancer. And so I was very obsessed with like holistic health and how I could help her with that. And that kind of snowballed. You know what I mean? Like the holistic health started, then, oh, I'm interested in coaching. And and it's funny because I was very resistant to it. I'm like, I don't want to start a business. This is just like a side hobby. And you know the deal, like it snowballed. And then so I was doing that, like traditional coaching and helping people through that for a few years. And I was like, I'm not fully there yet. Like I was like, I know I'm helping people, but I know I haven't landed. And then I like quote unquote accidentally took some of these classes and I was like, this is where it is. And then I was more intentional of like, okay, I need to be certified, you know, with trauma and this specific thing. So it's funny, this whole thing was quote unquote accidental, but it wasn't, you know.
Yeah,
You know how it is.
yeah. No, absolutely. I love that. I love that. And when I ask this question, I get a decent chunk of answers, but usually it's that you went to a place that like wasn't the best, and through that adversity, something really beautiful came out. Which is,
Exactly. That's exact. And I just in the time wanted to get through it. You know what I mean? Like I was like, let's just get through this moment. And I just want to be okay. And then something, it's kind of crazy, got birthed from this.
yeah, yeah, absolutely. No, I love it. Well, if there were one or two people that you could meet right now, or one or
Ooh.
two types of people that you could meet right now that would really help you take the next step towards getting to that show like Ellen and getting a bigger platform for speaking, who would they
Yes.
be and how would they help you?
Yeah, I would want someone who believes in my message because you know, being in this world, I know a lot of people that have pitched to, you know, Oprah and people like that. And sometimes people are like, that's too much, that's too weird. You know, it's a little bit edgy, even though when we start talking about it, it's not even really that edgy. But, you know, it's like, oh my God, what does that mean? Sexual empowerment. You know, it comes like, you know, so I would want someone that like understands what I do and would be a voice for me, or have my back when like pretend going into a room of producers or something. They're like, no, like let her explain, you know, I vouch for her, I vouch for this work. So I guess I would want my two people to like really understand what my vision is and not even understand it, but be like, yes, I see that, I support it, and have people that are not only like give me the green light, but are collaborative. And they're like, yeah, we should do this. Yeah, like I would want them to, almost be like, I see this, and this could be a great new thing in the market that we haven't seen before.
Mm, gotcha.
So if any listeners of those people, by all means.
Yeah, I love that. Well, tell us a little bit more about the actual sexual empowerment and dating coaching. Like, is it specific to that, or do you kind of branch out? Because I know you said you're certified in trauma and stuff like that. So tell us more about how the coaching actually goes.
Yeah, so it's funny, it is forever. That's why everyone's like, oh, that's not for me. And I'm like, I promise it is for everyone. Because when you go, you know the deal, you walk into the room or you walk into the Zoom room and we start talking about one thing and then other things expand. It's like people will walk in and be like, oh, relationships, but then 3 sessions later, we'll see they have a funky relationship with money. So I just got nichey so people can walk in the room and hear it. And that's the issue I had when I was just a life coach, is people were like, I was like, I can help change your life. And they're like, yeah, okay. It was like too broad. So this I kind of narrowed in, and we walk in the room and all the things kind of can be looked at and, held and loved and all that. But what it is I work it with people like really intensely. And I hold them in a container. I don't really usually do one-off sessions. I usually do like 6 months at a time. And we go in, we do sessions, we do check-ins, through Zoom, through virtual, through the phone, all the things, to hold them during whatever is going on. So that may be sexual empowerment, maybe they had a trauma and they're healing from that trauma, and they, that might be one. Maybe it's I have no confidence, I really hate myself. That may be another issue. Dating, or I am with a partner and there's stuff coming up and I'm triggered, or like I just want to feel more confident. So there's many areas that people originally walk in the room for help with. I'm dealing with a breakup. I want to go out and date. I'm already dating, whatever. That's why it's funny. I'm like, it really is for all people, like it's like the secret, like wink.
Yeah, absolutely. And I love how you niche down just to kind of get people in the door.
Yes,
But
I had to.
yeah, no, exactly. You definitely have to. It's just a very big need. It's actually something, because I am starting my like coaching thing, because as you can tell by this podcast, I love helping people with their dreams and goals.
Mhm.
But I'm thinking about how to niche down, because I'm like, it's very needed.
It is. Yeah. And you know the deal. It's like people can't hear you and I remember people telling me that like in business. I'm like, yeah. But they can't hear it sometimes, there's obviously always, exceptions, but they can't hear it if it's too broad. When I was like, I'm a life coach, they're like, okay, anyway. But now they're like, oh, I hear this. You know what I mean? Like I hear this and I understand it. And like, can I fit with this? So yeah, exactly. You hit the nail on the head. Like, what is my specific special sauce? And obviously I'll bounce in between many areas, but so people can hear it.
Yeah, absolutely. I love it. I love it. Is there any other specific people or type of people that you would want to meet, or it's just that collaborative, supportive person?
I think, well, I probably have a list of people, but I think for now, with that specific dream, it would be those collaborative people that would get behind me. You know what I mean? And also, there's like, I could go into like celebrities and stuff, but I'm like, like
Yeah,
that I would want to meet, but I'm like, like I think that would be the type of people that would be ideal.
gotcha. I love it. I love it. Well, name the most important one or two things that everyday people can do to really help you accomplish your dreams.
Oh, that's so good. I think it's the helping me get, and this is probably, good if I, have accountability on this, is like keep coming back to this dream. Cause I think it's really easy to get in the short goals, which is great. We need that, like to pay rent and stuff, pay rent and mortgages and all the things. Like, I think I get very lost in the, okay, I need to now bring in 5 new clients, or that, like, which is great. And I love that. And I love doing that. But I think it's very easy for me and probably all people to get very zoned in on the here and now, which again, there's a huge piece of importance of that. But I think for all the other people, like the regular people, if you will, I think I would need accountability. Like yes, keep making sure you get those 5 new clients. And yes, make sure you release your episode of your podcast this week. Like, yes, do the things you have to do right now. But I think they would remind me, like, spend time every week or every month, like dreaming up that thing. And even if it's like, can you plant seeds right now? Cause I think I can get very micro. So I think I would want accountability with like, keep doing the micro to survive, but like, remember, like, start planting seeds for the macro.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
That's a good question. I'm like, I should ask for support around that now. I'm like, I'm gonna ask my support system, like, hey, can you do this for me?
Yeah. With so accountability with paying attention to the macro.
Totally. Yep. I think that's a thing I can sometimes override.
I love it. I love it. And is the macro specifically in relation to the show like Ellen?
I think so. I think it is, or it's like, I think I just need time to like give myself time to dream it up. Cause right now it's so, I need those 5 clients. We need to hit this number. It's like very much in that zone where it's like, okay, yes, the show, but it also could be, do you want to write a book? If you want to write a book, what's that timeline? Like, I think I need to be in dreamland a little bit more. Like, even like once a week, like sit down for 15 minutes and be like, okay, I do want to write a book, or okay, I don't think I do want to do TED Talk, but but something like that. Like, you do want to do those things. Like, okay, I think I need to get better at planting those seeds for those bigger things. And life unravels as it does, but I think it feels like needs some concentration on that, if you will.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Have you ever read the book Who Not How?
No, actually.
It is a fantastic book. And
Really?
I think you'll really enjoy it. And I also think it'll really help you out. I would say ask yourself 2 questions when you're like moving forward. It's like, one, with your book and with Ellen, like identify your genius zone is what the book talks about. And that's how you can be a who for other people. But then it's like, if you find yourself procrastinating with certain parts of these things, be like, okay, who can I meet that can really automate me getting 5 more clients? If my genius zone is coaching, but not necessarily attracting the clients, who can I meet to attract the clients? Who can I meet to like do the research for the book that needs to be done? And who can I meet to like reach out to producers about this show? Or who can I meet to pitch ideas with, or whatever it may be.
That's so good. That's yeah, because I was like, those are such interesting questions that you're like, who would support you? Who were usually it's like how or what, so it's like, what will you be? How will you show up? Which is great. There's a space for that, but I'm like, who? Like I never even, and that takes so much pressure off because how sometimes feels so hard.
It's actually so funny. I feel like I'm going to talk about this every podcast, but Who Not How talks about procrastination and how procrastination is a good thing if you use it correctly. And it's saying, usually if you procrastinate, you don't learn anything from it. It's horrible. It's bad. It's going to wreck your motivation. It's just a negative cycle. But if you listen to the wisdom in procrastination and realize that there's something inherent in you that is rejecting the activity that you need to be doing. And so instead of just forcing yourself to do that activity, you need to ask yourself who you need to meet that really loves that activity like you love being in your genius zone. And when you find somebody who that activity is their genius zone, everything starts to work out.
That's so cool. I can't wait to get this book now. Thank you. I'm so excited.
Yeah, no, of course. I'm trying to that's where I want my niche to be, but I'm trying to figure out how to like put it in words and niche.
Yes. Yeah, you're like, what is that? How do I explain that? Yeah, that's amazing.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, awesome. Now we're going to jump into our Thriving 3. And our first question is, what's your favorite book, movie, or podcast? Pick one.
Yes. Okay, book. I'll do books because I think that's my. You know what? I lied. Because I was thinking about this before and I was like, what is my favorite? And I'm such a book junkie. I try to read a book a week. So there's no way I can possibly boil it down. So I will say movie, which is shocking. And this is very basic and I'm very embarrassed to admit this to the public. But there's a reason why, and I'll tell the brief tale why. My favorite movie is, and don't judge me, is Eat, Pray, Love. And I know that's the most basic thing you've ever heard in your entire life. but there's a reason. I think it like I'm so embarrassed to admit this, but I remember reading it before I was really kind of on this journey, and I felt kind of like what you're talking about, like that, like push pull. So I was like, I know there's something in here. And so I know now I'm talking about the book, so whatever, but book movie. But I remember when I was reading the book, I was like, and Elizabeth Gilbert actually is a phenomenal writer. She wrote Big Magic. She's amazing, 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 amazing writer. About spiritual things and just in general. And I remember reading the book and I wasn't quite ready, but I was like on the precipice of it. And I remember I was having these like experiences, if you will. Like I would have these like deep meditations and then I'd be scared and I'd pop out of it and go back to real life. You know what I mean? So that's why it's not just because I'm like, I love, eat, pray, love and so basic. I'm like, it meant something to me because I felt like whatever it was, whatever in the world was like, hey, we got you. And I just wasn't ready yet. But they were like, it's okay. Like, it's almost like it represents like a beacon of hope for me. And I'm like, I'm so embarrassed. It's like the corniest thing but it's like, it was there for me being like, when you're ready, we have a whole world open to you. And I love it too, because it's Italy. I'm Italian. Like, I love that it had that flavor. It wasn't just like spirit, like traditionally spiritual, like in Bali and in India. Like, I love that had those pieces, but I love that it also had Italy. And like, I loved, the different flavors of it, but it did represent something. Like, I wasn't quite ready to start the spiritual journey, but it was like a dangling carrot. Like, when you want this, it will be available for you. So
I love
corny,
that.
but that's my thing.
A little bit corny, but I think I loved it
No.
more than I hated the corniness. So.
Perfect. All right, we'll take it then.
Awesome. What is one way you like to take care of yourself?
Ooh, lots of ways. Something that I always suggest to my clients is asking, what do I need? Because I guess my flavors, all of our flavors and textures change throughout the day, depending on what's going on. So I could say like reading, watching a movie, being in a bath. But I think the thing that I always try to ask myself throughout the day is like checking in, maybe putting a hand on my heart, being like, what do I need right now? What do I need right now? What do I need right now?
Absolutely. I love it.
Yeah.
And do you ever hit a moment where you're not in touch with what you need and you just don't know the answer?
Oh, all the time. And that's because especially doing this work, it's like can be counterintuitive, like I'm doing this deep work, but then we're on the entrepreneur side, and like I said, I just started the morning doing a voiceover audition. Now I'm here, and then like you could get easily taken. And even though it's fun, the entrepreneurial journey, like it's like, oh, there's a high of doing 107 things a day. It can spiral you out a little bit. You know what I mean? Of like, oh my God, it's 3 p.m. and I did not even check in with myself today. So I have actually notifications on my phone to like remind me, because it's so easy to be like, I'm gonna go to this podcast, I'm gonna teach this class, I'm gonna go to this client. Like, it's easy to get out of yourself. So the long version is yes. And I have to get good. I try to bring myself back time and time again.
Yeah, absolutely. I love it. Well, what is one action step that you can take right now or continue to take if you're already doing it to really make big moves towards that show and getting your business and speaking platform to the place you want it to be?
I love that question. I have 100 accountability buddies, and because I have 100, it's easy to, oh, I'll see you next time. Oh, I'll see you in 4 weeks. Like, I think the impulse was good, like to talk to so many different people about business, but because it wasn't like my ride or die, like they kind of dissipated. So I'm wondering, this is bringing up a lot of good stuff for me. I'm like, maybe I really stick with one person and it's like a non-negotiable. We meet every week. You know what I mean? Instead of it being like, so, oh, whatever. And I wonder if to them, yes, I'll talk about the little things. Like, I want to do this and this and this right now. But I wonder if I tell them like the boundary of, please remind me, like, please hold space for me, how I could do the bigger thing. You know what I mean? I'm wondering if I can kind of hand that to my accountability buddy for them to keep me accountable for that.
Yeah, absolutely. I love it. And having the one ride or die is so important because, like you said, it's easy for so many relationships to dissipate because you go width-wise, but you don't go depth-wise. And it's
yes,
like it's harder, but
it does.
Awesome. Well, this wasn't in the questions I sent you, but I'm going to ask it anyways.
Please.
Okay?
Yeah, of course.
Awesome. So you know how people have a fixed mindset,
Yes.
or they don't want help, or they don't think that they can grow. People are kind of stuck in that I'm just stuck. And then you have people that have a growth mindset and embrace growth, embrace help. And then you have people that change from having a fixed mindset and not accepting help to having a growth mindset and accepting help.
Yeah.
What is the catalyst, in your opinion, that brings people from fixed mindset, not accepting help, to growth mindset, asking and receiving help?
Yeah, that's such a good question. I think there's so many ways. I hate this word, but plans of attack. You know, like there's a lot of different options for us to get in. But because I know this, because this is my body of work, I think coaching, therapy, having someone, you have to get them in the door, of course. But once they're in the door, if you have a good coach, they can hold you through that. Because being a good coach, you have to hold people's triggers and their, objections. They're going to be like, I don't believe in this. I don't. And you're like, uh-huh. Okay. So, and that's part of the reasons why I don't do one-off sessions, because I know I'm taking people through a deep journey. They're going to be triggered. They're going to resist. They're going to have objections. So that's why I'm like 6 months minimum. So I'm like, all right, today, like, let me gently hold you through this. You can't, like you said, you can't pull and push people if they feel like they're not ready. So I think getting in front of someone that can hold you, and that's okay with you throwing a fit. You know what I mean? Because we all do throw a fit sometimes. Sometimes we're like, I don't want to, or I don't want this. So I think you have to be with someone, have someone that holds space for you. That's okay if you throw a fit. And they're like, no problem. That's okay. You're throwing a fit. Let's move on. You know what I mean? Like, I think that needs to be a safe space, if you will. And again, there's many options for change to happen. But I think this is, because I do this every day, I think that is a good option, is a really good coach that is cool with you throwing objections left and right.
Yeah. Yeah. I love that. So I guess follow-up question to that, say you can't even get them in the door
Right.
to be able to have that space held for them. What is the catalyst that gets them in the door?
I think it has to, well, it has to happen from themselves. You know what I mean? Like, and that's sometimes like with clients too. I'm like, they're in the door, but the objections take so long. Like, I'm like, I could do so much work, but it's a collaborative effort. And that's, in coaching with clients that want to do the work, like it's like I can do 177%, but it's their shtick. You know what I mean? Like, I can go in there and give, send all the things and do all the things, but it is up to them. I'm there holding them, supporting them, cheering them on, but they need to make the change. So I think it's a desire to change. So I think it's like, if they have a come to Jesus moment or a fall to your knees moment, that may be a catalyst, for like, okay, like I do want to make a change. Um, I think they just need the desire to have a change, and then also be around supportive people who understand, because if they're like, oh my God, I can't do this anymore, and they voice that, and they're around supportive people that are like, yeah, why don't you hire a coach? Yeah, why don't you hire a therapist? Great. But if they're around people that are like, oh, that's dumb, you're fine, that shuts down. And it's like, yeah, you're right. You're right. You're right. I don't need, that's so stupid. I don't need to pay someone. That's so dumb. I'm fine. My life is fine. So it's like, I think the desire needs to be there, but then they also need to be in a safe space where people are green like that.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Well, thank you for that answer. I'm asking because I have a big life goal of, once I'm hitting financial freedom here in the next couple years, spending the rest of my life helping people get out of poverty and like helping them build wealth and helping them really like grow. But I know, like, if I want to do that around the world, I'm going to run into some people that are kind of stuck and aren't willing to
Yes,
change.
totally.
And I'm trying to figure out how to set up an environment, set up a community, set up support systems that make it easier for them to change than to stay the same.
Yes, yes.
I know in Atomic Habits, James Clear talks about changing habits that way, like making it easier to do the proactive habit than to do what you used to do, and making it satisfying and all that good stuff that he talks about. So I'm just always trying to figure out an answer to that question.
Right. And I think it's cool. I think another piece of this, now that I know the specifics, like I think a big piece is seeing people be okay in a similar community. You know what I mean? Because a lot of times people are scared to change because it's like, I don't feel safe. Like it hits a primal, okay, like it sounds great to have money, but like I'm scared, first of all, like that's like primal. Like, will I be kicked out of my, village, if you will? Will I be rejected? It brings up a lot of primal fears. So I wonder if there's like, if they see someone close to them thriving and safe, maybe it's like, oh, okay, I will also be safe. But it's like when you go into a new community and it's like, I'm going to change your life. They're like, that's okay. Like though I'm not so happy right now, like I'm surviving, like like this is too, like you're scaring me. You know what I mean? So maybe they would need to see examples of people similar, like, okay, they're not dying. You know what I mean? And they're thriving. So I think that's also another component.
I love that. That is something I have never thought about. So thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Awesome. Well, Erica, is there anything else that you want to chat about before we sign off?
Yeah, I just want to, remind people, we talked a lot about coaching and therapy and all the things, just helping, yourself. And I think it's really easy to put this conversation on the back burner. Like it's really easy to listen, which is great that people are, listening to like I'm celebrating all the listeners that you're even taking this step. Like that's huge. And I encourage to continue because I know it's easy to listen to a podcast and be like, anyway, anyway. And so like, this is your life, it sounds corny there. This is not the dress rehearsal, like this is, we have today, like that's all we have, like we have this moment. So I would encourage, if you feel any pull to live a little bit more of a richer life or, feel more confident or whatever you're the thing you want, I would encourage people to get help, reach out. They have both of us, you know what I mean? Like there's resources that they have. And I know both of us, want to support people and help people. So I guess don't sleep on you, even though it's easy to put on the back burner, like don't sleep on you. So that's my last little parting advice, if you will.
Awesome. Don't sleep on you. You guys heard it here. Erica, thank you so much for being on the show.
Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, of course. And if you guys are listening to this and you loved what Erica had to say, you really vibed with her coaching practice and just her motivation behind it and the results that she's getting, both herself and the people in her life, make sure to reach out to her, contact her. The links to do so will be in the show notes. I'm sure you can go schedule is it a 60-minute call?
Yeah, and it's totally free. And I only open up a few a month and then I close them. So if you like what I put down, even if you're like, I'm just interested, it's free, definitely go to my website and schedule that free 60-minute session.
Yep, absolutely. Well, there we go. The website will be in the show notes. Make sure to go to it. As we always ask, send this episode to 1 to 2 people need to hear this message. Maybe they need Erica's coaching in their life and they want to just honestly be their better self in whatever way that means. And Erica's here to help with that. So thank you guys for listening. Erica, thank you for coming on the show. Shoot us a 5-star review on iTunes and we're out.